Andreas. So great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, you directed the film called Shoe Shiner, which is, by the way, incredible piece of work. We're really proud to have it on Argo. I'd love to just kick it off to maybe ask you what inspired you, and maybe talk a little bit about the film.
Absolutely. So yeah, my name is Andrés Gallegos. I'm a filmmaker from Chile, and the name of my film is The Shoe Shiner. Shoe Shiner is 17-minute short film that it's contextualized in Chile in the 1990s, actually 1989. And the film tells the story of Diego, an 11-year-old kid that struggles with life, struggles to find opportunities to work, and basically struggles to survive in that context. And we see as how he gradually loses his innocence in order to survive, right? And this film was inspired on the childhood of my own grandfather, right? This was a story that I was always listened in family gatherings, right? And since I was a child, like I've heard this story that my father, what he did, working as a shoe shine boy back in the day. I heard this story like, I don't know, 30 times, right? Or more. So it always resonated with me that this could be a potential idea for the film screen, right? But other than that, it was a way for me to start talking about themes that I really want to talk to, which was the disparity in Chile and how communities that are, in more like vulnerable states have to deal with life and how to find ways to survive, and how that kind of lifestyle shapes their identity in the long term, right? So I especially wanted to aim towards a coming of age story, right? Like a kid, like so how that kid is being oppressed, and potentially how that kid is going to end up being, right? So
which is in and of itself is a huge challenge, I believe. Working, I think almost every single film director I ever worked with has at some point said that their least favorite thing in the world to do is to work with kids and animals. So, having such a personal story to you, and such an important story. It was tell us a little bit about how it was like find the right actor for Diego, and to really take that challenge of working with someone so young.
Absolutely. So yeah, no, that's a great question. It's commonly said that animals and kids, right, don't do that because it's going to be a challenge. But in this case, I took the challenge and I went to the same neighborhood that my grandfather used to live. And I started, creating these posters for a casting call. And I just go to grocery stores, put the poster in, choose to have the word around. And I started, creating a whole casting call, open call in Talca. I was helped by some local newspapers, and I went to some schools and stuff like that. And I ended up doing like a camera test I ended up doing auditions for more than 30 kids, right? And we had like 20-minute session with each of them. I was testing, them, like how do they look on camera, how they act, how do they perform, how do they read lines, how do they move, how do they stand, how do they look at the camera, which was so important, like that, because when you see the film, you see that the face expressions are like really key for this kind of film, because it's like a character study. So yeah, I went all in, and we had like a long day of auditioning kids, and we ended up with Patricio. And Patricio used to live in the same neighborhood as my grandfather lived. So that was like a very special connection to me.
Wow.
And Patricio, he was amazing. I mean, he was definitely more like a introvert kind of person, and he didn't talk that much, but he talked a lot with his eyes. he communicated a lot. So that's what I saw that kind of really captivated me, and we decided to go with him. And the rest is, it's in the film.
I mean, I get shivers. This is, I didn't know how incredibly personal the story was to you, and having cast someone from the same neighborhood. This, I mean, wow. Hats off to you, Andreas. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more? I think the story all the more amazing is because it's still so relevant today, unfortunately. So, how was what was your experience? How did people receive the film, and what did you kind of think when you released it, like off of the feedback from the audience?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, it's
Like the impact of the film.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the film was, even though it is like a period piece, right? It is set on the 1989, right? But it's still relevant today. I mean, it still talks about the disparity in society, and it was set in 1989 because that was the year, the last year of the military dictatorship from Pinochet back in the day.
Right, yeah.
That was the day right before Chile went to democratic elections. We went to democracy, right, in 1990. So basically, I wanted to set up the question about, like, okay, now that we are in democracy, is this really democracy? I want just to open up the conversation about democracy, right? And not only about that, but about, the same stories that we keep seeing. It's like disparity is still, going, and it's even more abrupt each year. Like the disparity between rich and poor, it's even more distant. So it's still relevant, and the impact that it had for the audiences was that was very they did have like an emotional reaction, because not only it is like a coming of age story of a kid, but I think because people can relate to that narrative, because I think each of us has somehow experienced that disparity, that oppression. So I think the impact of the film, it's still relevant. Actually, has been showing, like, even though it was released in 2018, it's still showing some places here and there. So it's like, I'm very happy that this film resonates with people.
Could you maybe just talk a little bit about the format? Also, we love that it's a short film, because allows you to focus on the story. Like, were you always intending it as a short film? Were you planning or hoping that it would be a feature film? Was short film enough to tell the story that you wanted to convey?
That's a great question. As a filmmaker, right, you always dream, okay, let's make a movie, right? Let's make like a 90-minute movie. At the same time, in order to get there, I thought, well, I might better start with something shorter, right? Before I make that leap, before I take that leap. But for this story in particular, I think there are stories that are meant to be short, and there are stories that are meant to be featured or long form. And there's a space for as creators to identify those stories and decide which format. But it was always designed to become a short. It was never intended to be a feature. But let me tell you that might change.
Well, I mean, we can jump right into that as well. I think people would love to know a little bit about how the project came together, just in practical means, because it feels like it's so much production value that, maybe if you can just, for the sake of the filmmakers viewing this video, talk about how you put it together. And then, how did you evolve from thinking of this as a short and into the future project?
Absolutely. Well, this film was always designed as a short, right? And that's going to take place in Chile. So in Chile, we do have a program, a government program that supports the arts in general, right? And in that program, there is a section for film. So there is some government funding that supports filmmaking in development stages, production stages, and post-production stages. The amount of
films
money
made in Chile, though, right?
Yeah, for films made in Chile, but most importantly for Chilean narratives, right? Because it's somehow like a way of the government to, keep cultivating the arts and the culture, the Chilean culture. So they also have co-productions, which is being like two countries working together in one single narrative, but that's a different program. But still, we do have those in Chile. So yeah, and I'm very grateful to have that opportunity, of course, because in some countries, like here in the United States, there is not such a thing. Most of the funding comes from investors or private sources, or some crowdfunding or some nonprofit. So it's a different landscape. There's still like a great amount of opportunities here, but it's not directly from the government, right? That's more like I don't want to say like a Latin American approach or European approach. It's just like the government putting resources into culture, which I believe for any country, I think it's greatly important.
But yeah, more.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's how I got the resources to shoot this project.
And did you write the screenplay yourself?
I did write the screenplay myself. I went through many iterations of the story of the script itself, many versions, and of course I got feedback from friends and filmmakers, but yeah, it was written by myself.
How long did it take you between you saying, okay, I want to make that story a reality, then the script, the getting the government funding, and getting to the set on the actual production? What was that? How long was that period?
That's a great one. So I decided that I wanted to write this project around the beginning of 2016, right? I started, okay, this is going to be my next short. And it was shot in the end of 2017. So probably 2 years from starting writing the first page until like the last production day. It took like a whole year of developing the project itself and asking for funding. Actually, the funding takes they go in like 1 year cycles, right?
Yeah.
So we were lucky enough to get the funding in the first application. The first submission, we got it.
I asked this question because I wanted to point out that 2 years isn't that long of a time. This is relatively pretty quick between an artist, the creator, deciding to do something and then getting the funding to it. Because I talk to a lot of young filmmakers who just want to I have an idea, I want to do it right now. Well, any great idea takes a little bit of a time to actually materialize. And so yeah, thank you for that. How old were you when you did your first short, or was a short the first thing you directed?
This was my second short film. The first short film I directed, I believe, I want to say I was 27. And this one, I think I was 30 years old when I directed this one. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
And so what are you working on now?
Well, I'm working on two other shorts. One is a documentary, one is a fiction piece. But I'm going to tell you about the fiction piece because it is relevant to this project. I'm working on the second part of the Shoeshiner.
Amazing. Also short.
Also short. It's going to be not 17 minutes, probably going to be 32 minutes. It's going to be a longer short. But it's going to have the same characters, throughout time. So we will see Patricio now, not as a 11-year-old kid or 10-year-old kid. We're going to see him as a 16-year-old teenager. And, we will see the evolution of the character in this second act, or like this second part. And we will see the same relationship with Don Sergio and with the other thief. So we will, it's like a second part of the same story. And I'm already working on it with my team, with the actors. I'm polishing the script right now with a script consultant. and we're preparing the whole project to submit it one more time for funding. But at the same time, we're also considering the idea of crowdfunding for this one. So yeah, my goal is to film this short next year.
What are you planning to, which platforms would you consider for crowdfunding?
I'm considering, like the usual suspects, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, Seed and Spark. I haven't made the decision yet, but I think it's going to be one of those three.
Very interesting. And can you share what would be the budget of that film?
So that's a great question. So the budget for the Shoe Shiner, the first one.
If you're comfortable sharing that, by the way, it's.
Yeah, no, I certainly can. So the overall budget for the first short, that was 50,000 total, with from development to the final DCP, right? And all of those resources were funded by grants and like different a good amount of organization, not only the Chilean culture funding. And this other one, I think, is going to be probably like a little bit more, probably like 80,000, because it's longer in length, and it's a little bigger in scale. So we will need a little bit more resources for that.
Well, that's incredible. We're wish you all the luck, and let us know how we can support you with that. I guess the last question is very broad on the short film format. Do you we're big believers that it's a format that can stand on its own 2 feet. We believe that almost any story can be told in under 45 minutes. How do you see short film can evolve in the world of artists and distribution?
That's a great question. Okay, let me start with saying that we're definitely living different, like, new times for creators, right? Like the idea of like having the tools being democratized, right, for the creators, like cameras, computers, and being able to shoot and edit a short or any film almost for like with little money. That was always the dream for any filmmaker, right? Like 10 years ago, when I started working in this, I started as a camera assistant. We were like loading film in expensive cameras. There was no way I was going to direct my own thing. But nowadays, you can grab your DSLR, right, your cell phone, and make it work. So, being that said, there is like gigantic numbers of short films being made, right? Because technology now allows new voices, fresh voices, to have their own films, which is amazing. I'm really enjoying that to start like seeing different kind of voices and messages and premises and themes and everything around the world. And so, being that said, I think we need a place for those shorts. There are too many, right? But at the same time, we need curation for those. Right. I think there is a huge audience for shorts, especially in the filmmaking community, right? I see shorts. I get a recommendation. Hey, what's this short? I'm gonna watch it because someone is recommending it to me. So if you have a platform that's telling you, hey, this short has been, we created this program that we consider this interesting, I'm gonna watch the whole program. As those, I don't want to name platforms, right? But there are, a good amount of platforms that I really enjoy, that they curate programs, and that kind of incentivizes me as a watcher, as a viewer, to go and watch a film. Same thing with shorts. So I think the future of shorts, the future of film, like in this point, we're kind of in a wild west right now, because all of the evolution of technology, algorithm, platforms, new platforms. So it's like uncertain how things are shaping. But what is certain is that we're going to be making more shorts. So there's going to be more and more. So I don't know which streaming platforms are we going to use, but it's for sure we're going to keep making shorts. So it's going to be interesting to find. I would love to see like a way that filmmakers feel comfortable to go and put their shorts beside the festivals, of course, right? Because when the festival circuit ends, what's next? Of course, your next short, but we need to have it available there for people to watch. And having it in your Vimeo channel for free, that's great. But having it on a platform that promotes shorts, that's completely different.
Well, we certainly believe that once people are able to monetize shorts better, there will emerge so many more artists who will make more shorts, because as we believe there's incredible stories to be told that don't have a place in feature or big TV, but people are yearning to put on film. So we're going to continue pushing, and we're going to hopefully support you any way we can. So again, thank you so much for trusting us with your film, and thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, absolutely. Have a great weekend.
Cheers.